The year was 1956. Cecil B. DeMille gathered the greatest stars in Hollywood and created a biblical masterpiece that still sends chills down your spine. But behind those powerful performances hid heartbreaking stories, illness, strokes, and lives cut far too short. Stay with us, because the real story of this legendary cast is even more dramatic than the film itself. Charlton Heston as Moses. When Cecil B. DeMille was casting the man who would part the Red Sea, there was only one name on his mind: Charlton Heston. His square jaw, towering presence, and commanding voice made him the perfect prophet. The role launched Heston into superstardom, and just 3 years later he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for Ben-Hur. But time is never kind, even to legends. In 2002, Charlton Heston made one of the most heartbreaking public announcements in Hollywood history. Standing before cameras, he revealed he had been diagnosed with symptoms consistent with Alzheimer's disease. The man who once commanded armies on screen slowly lost his ability to remember the very performances that made him immortal. On April 5, 2008, Charlton Heston passed away at his home in Beverly Hills, California, surrounded by his family. He was 84 years old. The official cause of death was never publicly confirmed, but reports widely attributed it to complications from pneumonia. His body simply too weakened to fight any longer. Hollywood lost its Moses, and the world lost a Titan. Yul Brynner as Ramesses. If Heston was the soul of the Ten Commandments, Brynner was its fire. His portrayal of the cold, calculating Pharaoh Ramesses II became one of cinema's most iconic villain performances. That shaved head, those piercing eyes, Brynner didn't just play Ramesses, he became him. Born in Vladivostok, Russia, Brynner led one of Hollywood's most extraordinary lives: circus performer, guitarist, model, actor. He won the Academy Award for Best Actor for The King and I in 1956, the same year The Ten Commandments was released. But Yul Brynner carried a dark secret for years. He was a chain smoker. In 1985, knowing he was dying from lung cancer, Brynner did something remarkable. He agreed to film a public service announcement for the American Cancer Society, specifically asking that it be broadcast only after his death. In the clip, a visibly weakened Brynner looked straight into the camera and said he wanted to pass on one final message. If he hadn't smoked, he would still be alive. On October 10, 1985, Yul Brynner died in New York hospital from lung cancer. He was just 65 years old. The PSA aired the very next day, reaching millions across America and around the world. Even in death, Brynner found a way to command the screen one last time. Anne Baxter as Nefertiti. Anne Baxter played the Egyptian princess consumed by her obsession with Moses. A woman willing to lie, manipulate, and destroy to keep the man she loved. It was a role that demanded raw intensity, and Baxter delivered every single frame. Her career had already been decorated before the Ten Commandments. She won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for The Razor's Edge in 1946 and earned another nomination for All About Eve in 1950. In December 1985, while walking on a street in New York City, Anne Baxter suddenly collapsed. She had suffered a massive stroke. Emergency surgeons operated, but the damage was too severe. After days on life support with no signs of brain recovery, her family made the devastating decision to let her go. Anne Baxter died on December 12, 1985. She was only 62 years old. A career full of brilliance ended by a moment no one saw coming. Edward G. Robinson as Dathan. Edward G. Robinson brought unforgettable menace to the treacherous Hebrew overseer Dathan, a man who chose power and comfort over freedom and brotherhood. Robinson's performance is layered, cunning, and deeply human in all the worst ways. His career stretched back to the early days of Hollywood. He was one of the first actors to make the gangster archetype glamorous on screen, and for decades he remained one of the most respected performers in the business. But Robinson's final chapter carries a particular heartbreak. In January 1973, he completed his final film, the science fiction classic Soylent Green, alongside Charlton Heston, his co-star from The Ten Commandments. It was almost poetic. The two men who had faced each other as enemies on screen spent their final film together once more. Weeks later, on January 26, 1973, Edward G. Robinson died of bladder cancer. He was 79 years old. The tragedy cuts even deeper. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences had already voted to award him an honorary Oscar, a Lifetime Achievement Award recognizing a career spanning over 50 years. Robinson died just 2 months before the ceremony. Charlton Heston delivered his eulogy. Over 1,500 people filled the temple. Hundreds more gathered outside. Hollywood mourned one of its greatest, Vincent Price, as Baca. Vincent Price appeared in The Ten Commandments as Baca, the brutal master builder, a man of power with no conscience. It was a smaller role compared to what Price was known for, but he filled every second of it with his trademark magnetic presence. Price became the undisputed king of horror films throughout the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. House of Wax, The Fly, The Pit, and The Pendulum. His voice alone was enough to make audiences shiver. Even Michael Jackson sought him out to record the iconic spoken word section on Thriller in 1983. In his final years, Vincent Price battled both Parkinson's disease and lung cancer. Despite his illness, he remained active and warm to fans until the very end. On October 25, 1993, Vincent Price passed away in Los Angeles from lung cancer. He was 82 years old. The master of macabre was gone, but his voice, that unmistakable velvet-edged voice, will never truly disappear. John Carradine as Aaron John Carradine brought a prophet's gravity to the role of Aaron, Moses' elder brother, and the voice of his people. Tall, gaunt, and blessed with one of cinema's deepest voices, Carradine seemed born to walk through biblical epics. He was one of Hollywood's most prolific character actors, appearing in over 200 films across 6 decades. His distinctive voice earned him the nickname The Voice, and his habit of reciting Shakespeare on Hollywood streets earned him another, the Bard of the Boulevard. By the late 1980s, Carradine's body was giving out. He suffered from crippling rheumatoid arthritis that made movement difficult and painful. Yet even at 82, John Carradine refused to slow down. In November 1988, he was in Milan, Italy, attending a film festival. On the day he died, witnesses say he climbed all 328 steps to the top of Milan's magnificent Duomo Cathedral. Hours later, he suffered heart and kidney failure. John Carradine died on November 27, 1988, in Milan, Italy, at 82 years old. He spent his last hours climbing toward the sky. There is something almost mythic about that.